Okay, so I just wanted to do a little comment about the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon um, movie title and the joke that gets continued with the Jackie Chan movies and how it's a real thing in Taoist Yoga, alchemy. So I mentioned this PDF book that I've been reviewing again. Post a link in here. And basically, in alchemy, when your eyes are open like mine are now, the you have the red dragon, which is the heart. And in meditation, that creates a yin shen, which is the spirit, and it leaves out of your eyes along with the yin chi out of the heart. So the idea is when you close your eyes and you turn the light around, and so you turn the yin shen into a yang shen or yang shen, and the yang yin yang then turns the red dragon into into a green dragon. And so the green dragon is the liver energy, but it's how wan chi is created. So it's also called the female dragon because you're turning you're what they call reverting the elixir as a amrita water, or like the alchemical pill is also what they call it. So it's really like your cerebral spinal fluid that goes down. And so it's the combination of the dragon and the tiger. So the tiger is normally the water as kidney, so it's called the black tiger. And um, so with the normal person with their eyes open, what happens is the water goes down out of the body and the fire as spirit goes out of the eyes. And so in alchemy, you're putting the fire under the water. And when you do that, the black tiger of the kidneys turns into the white tiger of the lungs. And so the white tiger, the reason it's yin and yang is because the lungs are a yin organ, but they're in the yang part of the upper body. And then the heart is a yang organ. So the heart is the red dragon, but it relies on the yin organ of the lungs to then attract that yang organ energy of the yin chi. And so then it combines with the yang chi from the black tiger into the white tiger of the lungs. And so that's how you create the wan chi. And then you're also mixing the yin shen and the yang shen. So the right eye is this is for males, and I don't know what it is for females. That's the problem. But I think like females probably just have alchemy like naturally. If they just meditate on the heart, it just happens naturally. But for the right eye for males is yang qi and yin shen. So the yang qi then is the um, white tiger as the lung energy, and then the the yin shen is normally the left eye when it's open, but then when you close the eyes in meditation, the left eye becomes the yang shen with the yin qi of the liver. And so the liver then becomes the green dragon when you have the eyes closed, so that um, the yin qi and yang qi then are inverted from the black tiger of the kidneys to the white tiger of the lungs, so that the water and the fire of the heart then, and so the water of the kidneys and the fire of the heart then become the mercury and lead for alchemy, and through the liver and lungs as the inner copulation, and then you rotate the eyes when you are meditating to then combine the yin and yang shen of the left and right eyes. And so then you get the wan shen. So through the alchemical process, you're creating the wan chi and wan shen, wan chi and wan shen, and then wan jing. So the wan jing is this secret water of the heart that you could call it like ionized cerebral spinal fluid, but it's also what they call amrita, and they say it's not any excretions of fluid, nothing you excrete, but so that would include the cerebral spinal fluid in the blood. So the blood is um, the yin chi is in the blood, and the yang chi is in the cerebral spinal fluid. So what's happening is as your third eye opens up, the blood is converted into yang chi, or cerebral spinal fluid, through the pineal gland. So as you meditate more, you increase the pineal gland processing or transduction of blood to cerebral spinal fluid. So you're increasing the cerebral spinal fluid, and that's the lecithin of the reproductive fluid, which would normally again be black, is then increased to the black tiger into white tiger of what they call lung energy. So the emotions of the lungs are courage, but the opposite of the courage is sadness. So when you combine the lung energy with the heart, and the heart is like the emotion of the heart is overexcitement or love. But when you combine it with the lungs, it becomes passion. So when you combine it with the heart, it becomes compassion. But if you overuse the compassion, then it becomes sadness. So that happens all through the yin chi energy, which is this a lower emotional, like psychic energy. And there's a great quote in the Taoist Yoga book that basically says the only difference between the yin chi and the wan chi is just the amount of it. So you have to store up the yin chi and then purify it to create more wan chi. And the only way you can purify it is by doing that eye rotation to combine the yin and yang shen. And so that's the great secret of alchemy, that is to rotate the eyes to combine the yin and yang shen, the spirit light, that then creates the right virtual photon energy that's able to transduce the yin and yang chi into wan chi. And then you store that in the small intestines, the lower dantian elixir field. And well, when the wan chi gets activated, it's actually the middle dantian, so the cauldron moves up, the alchemical cauldron. And so at that point, it's like, as Master Nanhua Chin says, is that people will achieve that state, but then they get spiritual powers. And if they use the spiritual powers, they get heroic overexuberance, is the phrase he uses, when they use those spiritual powers. And then they fall out of the spiritual realm and back into the mundane realm, or worldliness. And so he says that's what happens to most people, and that's what happened to me also. But fortunately, because of the qigong master, I was able to also receive the energy healing, as he calls it. He says it's not a transmission, but it's the wan chi, so that the third eye could be like a permanent center of gravity, as Gurdjieff calls it, but it's like a magnetic bliss in the pineal gland. And so that's still at the level of the psychic yin chi. So there's like the wan chi emanates out of the pineal gland. It originates from the heart, and then it's stored in the small intestines, or the lower elixir field. And so ultimately, this energy is like virtual photon energy from the future, and so you're able to then literally like recreate your body, which is what they call the yang shen, and you're able to restore your energy to what it was like at prime health, like when you're about like 16 years old. And you're also able to create spirits of other people that you're healing, like do soul healing, and that's what the qigong grandmaster Chun Yulin does. I saw him doing that. The emptiness will like tap into other people's, like basically like their soul energy and sort of like their soul imprint or whatever, and then be able to heal them if you're, from that emptiness level. So it's a pretty wild like secret ability, and they talk about that in this alchemy book also, like the various different abilities. I have the link in my blog, so people could check that out. But I just wanted to clarify the dragon and tiger thing because it's something that I had not been clear about. But this other book, the Livia Cohn, that she wrote this book basically. It's just her commentary on one of the Taoist Dragon Gate alchemy books. And so the interesting thing is it is like an ionized cerebral spinal fluid, and it kind of makes sense because if you look at like an electric eel, like John Chang says he's just like an electric eel. So I took him literally and I looked up, well, how does an electric eel store the charge? And sure enough, it is in the fat cells, and the fat is what myelinate the nerve cells and the ability to store the charge. So it makes sense that in order to increase the charge storage in your body, you would need more fat, like more myelination of the nerves. Like if you think about it, like a cable, like an extension cord, if it can draw a larger amperage from the grid, it has to be a thicker cord, and that's essentially the same exact thing that's happening. Um, in order to increase the myelination, then you need to increase the celibacy, because the celibacy for males is mainly lecithin, and the lecithin is then the main component of the cerebral spinal fluid. It gets like transformed, and I have a blog post on that goes into the more details. But this is of course not like science doesn't know about this at all, but that's how it works in the quantum biology level of science. Nobody's like figured this out or studied it, so that's why I'm talking about it right now. And I mean, the closest would be what Stuart um, Hammeroff is doing with Roger Penrose and Anirban Banyopahe. They've been delving into the collagen, or not collagen as much as the microtubules, but microtubules is what makes up collagen. So all your tendons and ligaments, but pretty much every cell in your body has that collagen, has the microtubules in it, and so that is able to access this virtual photon energy. But then it works with the water also, and um, and you're able to split the water, because one of the things they talk about is like, well, how much energy does it take for electrolysis to happen? But if you're working with this reverse, this negative resonance from the future as virtual photons, then you're able to split the water as a quantum undertone or subharmonic. That's what my last book was about with Andrea Puharich, because he figured out that secret, but he didn't realize it was non-commutativity as the secret of that process. And that's the secret of non-Western alchemy, is this yin and yang opposites of the body. So you have that with the hands and the upper and lower body, the outside of inside of the hands, the shoulders and the hips and knees and elbows and feet. So yeah, it's like a whole body, sort of like left and right, front and back, and top and bottom, and it all like constantly crisscrossing, and that's like how the meridians are made up, and and then eventually it becomes like the future and the past overlapping, and that's the source of that energy is from time as the future and the past that's eternally moving. And so that's pretty much the secret of the crouching tiger, hidden dragon, with the lung and the liver complementing the heart and the kidney. And it's pretty fascinating because the kidneys are called the internal reproductive organ for males, and we don't think of that connection as Westerners, but it has to do with the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And I've gone into that in my free training manual. Anyway, I'll just leave it right there. And um, of course, to actually practice this is a whole different story than to figure it out conceptually. So I practiced it to a certain level, and then I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what's going on. So then you study the Taoist Yoga book, and it's like really difficult to understand because it's a lot of um, conversations, and they don't, it's a lot of mystical language and stuff. So it's really great that Livia Cohen has this follow up book. Um, here's the link for that book. Yeah. All right.